To start off the interview, I want you to introduce yourself, and I want you to tell us a little history about your job story. What do you do for a living, and how did you choose that particular career?
Okay. Hi, my name is Stacey Pagliaro. I am a special education teacher. I've been teaching, this is probably my 25th year. When I was in fourth grade, I happened to have loved my teacher. And ever since then, I knew that that was the career path that I wanted to go. So I'm one of those I don't know if I should say lucky ones, but one of those people who have known ever since they were a little girl that they wanted to be a teacher.
That is amazing. I have a similar story. My mother was a teacher in Miami-Dade County for 35 years, and I taught in the school system before I went to junior achievement. So definitely, I understand how it feels to want to do something from the time you were a child.
Yes.
Which leads me to my next question. With everything going on in our world today, what does I know it's changed from what it used to be, but what prior to the events that are taking place right now, what did a day of work look like for you in the classroom?
Okay, so I happen to be a special education teacher, so management needs are very important. So my children would come in the morning and they unpack their things, and everything is in a timely manner where they unpack, they would bring their folders, put them in a basket, then sit down and wait for us to call them to the back to hang up their book bags and or jackets. And then we actually begin our day with yoga in order just to get them focused. And then we usually go into reading, and then we take a little break, whether it's snack or sometimes it's a go noodle to get them up moving. Um, and then it's math. And then by then it's usually snack and then playtime. Prior to this, playtime was very different than it is now. It was very center based. They had to, so it wasn't chaotic. They would pick, three children to a center, whether it was housekeeping, cars, puzzles, action figures, whatever it is to help with their socialization. And then after that, it would usually be lunch and recess. Of course, there's a special sprinkled in, whether it's the morning or the afternoon. They get gym, music, and art and library. Those are the four specials they get. And then after lunch, we only have about an hour and a half left. So, um, depending on the day, it could be an academic, it could be a special. And then we end the daylight with maybe the iPad of educational, games or something like that.
Wow, that sounds like a pretty intense day, moving from one thing to the next. Which brings me to my next question. Before you became a teacher, did you have any jobs? And if so, did those jobs correlate to what you're doing now?
Yes, well, I was in the summer as a camp counselor. So that definitely, I worked with children. And then in college, as I was going for my master's, I was a teacher assistant in a preschool or a nursery school. And that's what I did while I went for my master's. I always babysat. I always had something that had to do with children.
Got you. And so, in your job as a babysitter and as a summer counselor, what was one thing that you learned from those jobs, whether it was positive or negative? Give me one of the main things that you took from those jobs.
Patience. You have to be very patient with children.
I understand that completely. I understand that completely. Uh, Let me ask you this: as you were going through your education path to become a teacher, did you veer off that path? Did you have a change of career? Did you do something else, or it was always laser focused on becoming a teacher?
Well, actually, my undergrad is in speech language pathology. So I thought I was going to be a speech language pathologist. When I was going through college at the time, speech pathology was becoming very, very popular. And so it was very hard to get into a program. And I tended to be a little more social in college. So um, a lot that I had learned was about special education and IEPs and all kinds of things. And so I ended up for my master's going the route of special education. So my undergraduate is in speech language pathology, and my master's is in special education. So I'm actually a certified speech teacher, which I can teach in a school, and that's all I ever wanted to do with it anyway. I never wanted to be a speech pathologist in a hospital or anything like that. So for me, it worked out perfect. And I teach, my class is actually a speech and language kindergarten. So I teach very language based. I use the two and kind of combine them.
Awesome. Okay, now we're going to do a little activity now. I
Okay.
want you to put on your memory cap, and I want you to think back to when you were in eighth grade, because this program is geared toward
Okay.
eighth grade students.
Sure.
So I
Sure.
want you to pretend that you're talking to eighth grade Stacey. What kind of advice would you give eighth grade Stacey if you could speak to her today?
I would say stay focused in school. High school is really important. I learned later on in life that I'm a visual learner. And I think you need to really just pay attention to school and your grades. And social is very important, but you can't let it impact, um, you know, your schooling, because that's very important. And I wish I had known then what I know now, that I was that type of learner, because I think it really would have helped me along in school.
Amazing. That's some great advice to tell your eighth grade self. And I'm sure our eighth graders viewing this video, they will definitely take heed to that advice, because at that age you are very social, and sometimes it does get in the way of getting the grades that you really want. So as we bring the interview to a close, I have one last question that I want to ask you. Let's say if there's a student that's watching this video and they were just like you, laser focused on becoming a teacher, what advice can you give them to prepare them for the path that they're about to go down?
I mean, I think the best advice I could give is watch your own teachers, because they could serve as a really good model of what you would see in yourself as a good teacher. I think patience, like I said, is very important to teach. I think being aware and knowing your students is very important, and just keep your eye on the prize, because anything is possible. You can be anything you want to be, and teaching is very, very rewarding. So I really do encourage that.
Well, Stacey, that brings this interview to a close. Thank you so much for participating with us. We appreciate you very much. Okay?
You are very welcome.
Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye.